All right, let's take a look at some other top headlines we're following today. A white teen accused of plotting to attack a black church in Gainesville pleads guilty today. Investigators say she planned to kill members of Bethel AME Church last November, and the plot was racially motivated. Students at her school tipped off police. She was sentenced today to stay in juvenile detention until she turns 21, with 10 years probation after that. And she can't go within 150 feet of a Bethel AME church or contact members or staff.